Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today is March 21st. The Tokyo series was played. Baseball is back. Let's talk about it. Hello, everybody. My name is Steven. This is the middle of the order. How are we doing today? Ladies and gentlemen, we are less than a week away from opening day. We have done it. We have made it through the 2024-2025 off season, and that is because we had baseball this week. And no, it was not just your typical spring training games. We had the Tokyo series. The Dodgers and the Cubs played the first two games of the season in Tokyo. We'll be talking about those and a couple other news, little tidbits here, things that happened in this past week, things that definitely I wasn't talking about during the DOPs. If you miss it, divisions, outlooks, and predictions, we've done all 6. They've been predicted. They've been outlooked. We know what these teams are all about to enter the 2025 season, so be prepared for those because that's where we're going to kick things off. And we got predictions on Monday, and that brings us to the start of the season. I've got 3 games to go to early on, so very excited about that. And if you're excited for the 2025 season, I know you are because I am. And if you're listening to this, that means you gotta love baseball or you gotta love me, and it's much more likely that you love baseball. So get ready for that. The season starts in less than a week. Let's get into the Tokyo series recap. Baseball is back once again, and so is this song. We've got the Dodgers and the Cubs in Tokyo for the Tokyo series. Yoshinobu Yamamoto versus Shota Imanaga. Here we go. The first run of the new year comes in the bottom of the second as Miguel Amaya hits an RBI double to score Dansby and give the Cubs the 1-run lead, which lasted all the way up until Imanaga got pulled. He had 4 no-hit innings, and in that 5th inning, the Dodgers pounced on Ben Brown with an Edmonds single to tie it, and then Will Smith drives in 2 with an RBI single. That gives the Dodgers the lead. All the way to the top of the 9th, Teoscar Hernandez adds 1 with an insurance run, a single in the inning. That gives the Dodgers the start of the season they wanted. It's a win over the Cubs in the Tokyo series, 4-1 in that game. Dodgers on to game 2. You have Roki Sasaki making his MLB debut in Tokyo, which is obviously his familiar where he comes from, and he does so against Justin Steele for the Cubs, and Steele got roughed up in this one. The Dodgers score 4 straight innings from the 2nd all the way to the 5th. These included a pass ball, a sac fly, the first home run of the season thanks to Tommy Edman, alongside 2 more home runs, Kike Hernandez with the blast, and yep, you guessed it, Shohei Ohtani. The Cubs were able to get a couple of runs in this one with a bases-loaded walk, a Happ single, and a Dansby Swanson double. But from the 6th on, it was goose eggs from both teams. The Dodgers get the Tokyo series sweep over the Cubs. They win on Sasaki's debut game 6-3. All right, let's get in depth with these games here. Let's get to the first game, Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Shota Imanaga. Pitching-wise, Imanaga was brilliant in my mind. 4 innings pitched, did not allow a single hit. He did walk 4 batters, so the control was a little off. There was a couple borderline pitches. There's no ABS in these games. He also had a couple of strikeouts. Overall, a strong start from Imanaga. Yamamoto, also pretty solid as well. 5 innings pitched. He allowed 3 hits, 1 earned run, walked batter, and struck out 4. So to be honest, for the first game of the season, both starters were pretty solid overall. Dodgers bullpen looked good. Anthony Banda, a scoreless inning. Blake Trinan, Tanner Scott. So the pitching was top notch there. Ryan Brazier, the guy they DFA'd, traded to the Cubs, he gave up the run to Teoscar in the 9th inning. But Ben Brown was definitely the struggle point. He pitched 2 2/3. He allowed 4 hits, 3 runs, 2 of which were earned, 3 walks, did strike out 5, but that 5th inning was definitely the inning that got away from the Cubs in this one. To be honest, it was Dodgers pitching that kind of took the narrative of this first game. The Cubs, only 3 hits in the game. They had 2 errors. They had 1 more hit than they did errors. Ian Happ with the base hit, as well as Swanson and Amaya. So interesting stuff there. Shout out Matt Shaw, who made his MLB debut as well, the Cubs' top prospect. Didn't have a great first game. He was 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. Kyle Tucker in his Cubs debut, 0 for 4 as well. So really some struggling points there. Suzuki was 0 for 4 as well. Some definite, you wouldn't really want to be in that position there if you were those guys and some of those Cubs players who definitely struggled on the game, I guess in the morning for us in the North Coast here. Dodgers, on the other hand, looked, as they should, very solid. Of course, it's only one game, but Conforto got a hit, Rojas got a hit. Ohtani was 2 for 5, so, doing what he needed to do. He did strike out. Max Muncy, 0 for 3 with 2 Ks and 2 walks, so solid, kind of Muncy performance we'll expect sometimes. Will Smith was definitely the guy here, 1 for 2. He had 3 walks in the game. He was working the pitchers, working the plate, and of course drove in 2 runs with that single, 1 run. Well, it was a 2-run, but one of them was part of the error, so it was an unearned run. But regardless, Dodgers come away with this first win. Some players played that key aspect, and for those Cubs, we just kind of missed the offense in this game. This lineup can be potent. P. Crow Armstrong batting 7th there. He was 0 for 3 as well. So a lot of 0-fers, and that is to expect when you only have 3 hits on the game. Regardless, Yamamoto gets the win. Ben Brown gets the loss. Tanner Scott gets the save, and that was the first game of the season. We'll move on to the second game, a little bit more of a scoring game here. Dodgers 6 runs on 7 hits, while the Cubs scored 3 runs on 8 hits. Justin Steele, definitely the issue here. 4 innings pitched, 5 hits, 5 earned runs with 5 Ks. He allowed 2 of the 3 home runs that were hit in this game. Sasaki, on the other hand, making his major league debut, he only went 3 innings. He allowed 1 hit and 1 earned run. He struck out 3, but the problem was his command. He just didn't have it. He walked 5 batters in this game, so somewhat similar to Emanaga's line. But yeah, overall, it was still a solid debut, I think, for Sasaki. Obviously, you kind of wished, he would have done better, maybe not as many walks. He could have gone out there for the 4th inning, but the pitch count was getting up there. It made sense, so they pull him there. And then we see this onslaught of Dodgers pitchers that come in. Landon Knox, Kirby Yates, Alex Vesia, those guys pitched that 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th innings. Those 4 innings were the innings where the Cubs couldn't score any runs, so solid stuff from those guys. For the Cubs pitchers, just as solid. Ryan Presley an inning, Hodge an inning, Merriweather an inning, Thalbar an inning. Pearson, gave up 1 run, gave up the home run to Ohtani, which is a controversial home run. If you watched it, they did have to review it, and the call in the field did stand. It was called a home run, but from the camera angles, from some of the shots, it really didn't look like it was ever going to go out. It hit a fan's glove kind of close to the wall, so, people have been like, oh, of course it's, rigged or whatever, scripted. I don't really care, but it is something to note that, the Ohtani's first home run of the season, very much a wall scraper in the Tokyo Dome there. But I'll tell you what wasn't a wall scraper. Tommy Edmonds' first home run of the year. And how about Kike Hernandez hitting his first home run of the year as well? A 2-run shot there. Those 3 Dodger home runs definitely make up the difference in this game. But yeah, the pass ball early on in the top of the second, like it really was all Dodgers in this one as well. Ohtani 1 for 3, he walked twice. Teoscar struggled in this one, 0 for 4. Will Smith 1 for 2, 2 more walks, so you add that up, is very nice stuff there. Then you switch over to the Cubs. I mean, Michael Busch 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. Yikes. Seiya Suzuki 0 for 4 again with 3 strikeouts. Yikes. Pete Crow Armstrong 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. Yikes. So there was definitely some really tough offensive performances in this series here from Chicago's end here. You got John Birdie batting 9th in this game. He was 3 for 4. That kind of outshines everything, kind of leads the way for this Cubs offense right now. If we take a look overall in between both games, Will Smith was definitely kind of the key player here. He was 2 for 4 with 5 walks, drove in a run as well, had a double. So overall, a very solid performance there. Shohei was 3 for 8, hit his first home run. John Birdie, as mentioned, he was 3 for 4 in that second game. He was 3 for 6 overall in the series. Those are the only 3 guys with an OPS above 1. Of course, only 2 games, really doesn't mean much. But then you kind of go down the list here. Andy Pages, he was 1 for 5 with 3 walks, which is solid. We saw Ian Happ, have a couple of hits. Tommy Edman, the home run, big key difference there. But when you go to the bottom of that list there, I mean, Pete Crow Armstrong, 0 for 7 with 3 Ks. Seiya Suzuki, 0 for 8 with 4 Ks. Michael Busch, 0 for 6 with 3 Ks. I mean, the worst Dodger here was Teoscar, who was 1 for 8. And I mean, according to MLB standings here, the stats page, we've got a 1 through 17, and the bottom ones are Cubs, Dodgers. So those bottom 4 guys of Matt Shaw, who was 1 for 9 with 4 Ks, Michael Busch, Suzuki, and PCA. They were the bottom 4 there, and then you got Teoscar and Rojas. And then Kyle Tucker did get a hit in the second game, his first official hit as a Cub. He was 1 for 8 on the series. It was a double, and he did have an RBI in that game as well. That was because of a bases-loaded walk, to be fair. So it was an RBI, but not kind of the one you'd want. But regardless, this series kind of showed, okay, the Dodgers, even at, they're like, I feel like these were winnable games for the Cubs, but their offense didn't really show up. And even in, the second game where it kind of did a little bit more than the first game, Justin Steele just didn't have it. Those 5 earned runs definitely pulled them back. So Lennon Knox gets the win in this game. Justin Steele, the loss, and then Alex Vesia, the save for the Dodgers. So the Dodgers take the 2 games in the Tokyo series. They're 2-0 on the year. Cubs 0-2. That is your Tokyo series recap, and that gets us set for next week's opening day. So let's move on now. We've got a couple of little news things to talk about here. The first thing I want to go over is the Astros with their new City Connect jerseys. They were released, this week. And if I'm being honest, big fan of them. I think they're a lot better than their last one. I did like the Space City ones. I didn't hate that by any means. The blue was a very, standout blue. I think the lettering was a little hit or miss kind of in the stripe down the middle. But these new ones look absolutely amazing. I love the hat. I think the hat is fantastic. But the jersey's crisp. It's clean. It's kind of giving like a nice, like white. Well, it's obviously a white jersey, but I mean, like, I'm thinking back to like the old Astro jerseys that they had when they were still in like the NL Central, I think, or the NL East, whichever division they were in, before making the move to the AL West. It's a very, the Astros logo, the star there. It now says, instead of Space City, it says Astros across the chest. If you haven't seen them, go and take a look. I think these ones are much better. I'm a big fan of the hat. Like, every time I see the hat, I like really want to buy one. So really excited for this Astro City Connect. I think it is a lot better. Will we see Altuve wearing this jersey in left field or at second base? Those are the questions. Didn't hate the last ones, but when you put this one next to it, I think this one is the much better jersey. So very excited for the Astros here to be whipping these games out on, I believe Friday home games is how the City Connects work. That's always like the day in my head. So very excited there. Astros, a good City Connect jersey. And excited to see some of those players in it. Maybe I'll pick up a jersey if I so choose to. Astros new City Connects. Let's dive into the little bit of news that happened in terms of signings and extensions. And to start that off, we got Jose Trevino, who got extended by the Cincinnati Reds. If you missed it earlier in this offseason, the Reds traded for Trevino from the Yankees and has paid him a little bit of money here. So he's not going to be only on the books for 2025, but it is a 2-year deal worth $11.5 million, and this includes a club option for 2028, which means that he is going to be on record for the Reds in 2025, which is this year, 2026 next year, 2027, and then a club option for 2028. So we could see Trevino as the Reds catcher for the next 4 years. And of course, this is a little bit interesting because the Reds do have Tyler Stevenson, who I think is the better catcher. Definitely, I think a higher ceiling for him. The young kid, I say young kid, but he's probably up there in age these days. He hasn't been able to stay healthy in most parts, but when he has been right, I feel like he has been a solid catcher and a solid option there for the Reds, unless they plan on moving him to first base potentially. But in the 5-year career so far for Stevenson, he's accumulated nearly 7 career WAR points. He's got 50 home runs. He's got 208 RBIs. His slash, a 267, batting average, a 343 on base percentage, a 770 OPS. Very solid numbers for Stevenson. So interesting to see what the Reds will do here. Trevino, on the other hand, has been in the league since 2018 when he debuted with Texas. The last 3 years he's been with the Yankees. He was an All-Star and a Gold Glove winning catcher in 2022. And that was his best season by far. But even then, that season still had him with a 248 batting average, a 671 OPS, and only 11 home runs. You take that 7-year career, he's got a 3.8 WAR with only 32 home runs and a slash line of 236 batting average, 275 on base percentage, and a 637 OPS. So, numbers will favor Stevenson, but maybe Trevino's that backup catcher, that solid defender. He's got that Gold Glove he won. It was also a Platinum Glove that year. He was a very solid defender. So interesting to see how this will shape up over the next couple of years because, $6 million for a bench backup catcher is, in my mind, a little bit pricey. I think there's other options or something you could go with. But if they plan on moving Stevenson to first base, then that kind of opens up the catcher spot for Jose Trevino, which would be interesting to see here. I'm just trying to pull up the Reds depth chart really quickly because right now they have Yeimer Candelario listed as the first baseman. Of course, Stevenson is starting the season on the IL, so Trevino will be the catcher for at least the first bit of the season here until Stevenson can get healthy. So it's something to keep an eye out for, but congrats to Trevino, a well-deserved extension, realistically. I know the offensive numbers won't say it, but the defense sure does shine there, so he is going to be staying with the Cincinnati Reds for the time being. Moving on here, let's talk about Patrick Corbin, because to be honest, I did not think this guy was going to land another deal in the big leagues, but I was wrong because he is signing with the Texas Rangers, a 1-year deal worth $1.1 million. If you don't know the story of Patrick Corbin, he debuted in 2012 and was a solid option for Arizona. He made his first All-Star game the very next year in 2023, but then due to injury did not play the following year in 2024 and most of 2015, about half of the year. He stayed with Arizona up until 2018, where he was an All-Star that year and finished in Cy Young voting top 5. He finished 5th in Cy Young voting that year in 2018. Kind of made himself into a name again after, the injury and a couple of down years with Arizona. He landed himself a nice deal with the Washington Nationals in 2019. And of course, he made headway that year. He was a huge addition to that national staff, so much so that they won the World Series. He was a big part of that postseason run, not as a starter, but coming out of the bullpen to get some key outs. He finished 11th in Cy Young voting that year. But since then, and since COVID really, his ERA has plummeted. We're going to 2020 here for a 4.66 ERA, and since then, 5.82, 6.31, 5.2, and 5.62. The last 4 years, he has been a liability. He has been really bad. He's led the league in 3 of the 4 years in earned runs, the only one not being 2023. But last year, 2021 and 2022, he led the league in earned runs. He's led the league in hits given up. So it's really been a tough thing. He's also led the league in losses 3 of the 4 years as well. So unfortunate for Corbin here, but if there's one thing that he has been able to do, it's stay healthy. For better or for worse, to be honest with you. Those last 4 years, 31 starts, 31 starts, 32 starts, and 32 starts. He's been a workhorse. He's done it for a long time. And he now joins the Rangers for his 3rd team in his career. And, for my sake, because I do like Patrick Corbin, it's a shame that his career the last couple of years have gone such awry from him. But hopefully he's able to figure it out. Hopefully he can have a nice year with Texas, maybe get that ERA below 5, 4.4 at least, 4.8 even. Something to work towards and to finish the year and be like, this was a good year to be happy for himself, to provide something for the team as well. Because those early seasons with the Washington Nationals, like I say, 2019 and even 2020, it was, not a great year in 2020, but also it was COVID year, so I can't blame it all on him. But he has 14 career WAR points. He's got 103 wins in his career. He's been a solid pitcher in the past, so there's nothing really stopping him for still being a solid pitcher now. He's entering his age 35 season, so hopefully there's just something left in the tank there. He can give something for the Rangers and help them out this year as they try to make it back to the postseason. The 2-time All-Star and 2019 World Series champ heads to Texas. And that brings us to our last bit of news here, and that is Alex Verdugo, as well as the Braves in general. Verdugo's camp had been quiet pretty much all offseason. No one had given him a single offer. But in the last second here, in the last week before the season begins, Alex Verdugo is signing with the Atlanta Braves. It's a 1-year deal worth $1.5 million. And he's not alone here in the dying weeks before the season starts. They added 2 minor league deals and 2 very interesting minor league deals. James McCann is a potential backup catcher. And then how about Craig Kimbrell, where it all started? Both of them are on minor league deals. Can they break with the camp? They don't have a lot of time to show up and prove it, but maybe, in AAA, get some work in and then come into the season later on. So all the best for those two. But for Verdugo, it's very interesting because, he was on the Yankees last year. He played in the World Series. Of course, people might remember him most for striking out to end the World Series and get the Dodgers the win. Buehler struck out Verdugo. And of course, now, he's been a free agent all this time, but he is now signed with Atlanta. Will he be starting in the outfield? Maybe over Kelenic, depending on how that battle goes, but it'll be interesting. Verdugo, in his contract year, had maybe his worst season of his career. Of course, we know that the big thing about Verdugo was that he was a key piece in the Mookie Betts deal that tripped Betts from the Red Sox over to the Dodgers, and Verdugo was a key piece going back to Boston. He played 4 seasons in Boston, where he put up his best numbers overall in his career. Of course, that 2019 year at the Dodgers was very solid as well. But 2020, you people forget how good he actually was. Of course, it is a shortened season. They only played 60 games, but he finished 12th in MVP voting. He had an 844 OPS, and some pretty solid numbers overall on the year. In 2021, that first year there, he was there 146 games, 157 hits. He had 13 home runs, a career year for him, I guess, that way, because he has never been able to hit over 13 home runs. He's hit 13 home runs 3 different years in his career. Never been able to get that career high 14, so something to watch there. Last year, he was dealt to the Yankees for 2024 for 1 year. And in that year, he played 149 games, had 130 hits. Again, those 13 home runs, he had 61 RBIs, batting average of 233, and on-base percentage of 291, and an OPS of 647. So not a great year, by standards means in MLB these days, but also not bad enough to just kind of throw him to the side here, because he is only 29. We've seen the potential for him before. So there is upside with Verdugo here. I think a part of his struggles comes from lack of confidence, comes from, being traded before. And I think there is some flawed, understanding of Alex Verdugo. I think he is a lot better than numbers will say. I think there is, a lot of improvements that can still be made in his game. And I'm not going to say that, he deserves to be, starting for an MLB team, because that's not the case. Obviously, if he was on the White Sox or the Marlins or the A's or the Rockies, I think you could make your case and be like, yeah, he's, not only deserves to be in the starting lineup, but he deserves to be like batting third in that lineup. He's still a solid ball player. So kudos to the Braves. I think it's, for $1.5 million for the year, you're taking a little bit of a gamble here, but it could pay off, and I think that's kind of the key thing to think about is when you put Verdugo in a lineup, it can be a key player, a kind of key aspect here. So it's something to kind of watch when the season gets started here, because I think Atlanta has, plenty of talent. We know about their injuries. So when I think of like that outfield, I think of, okay, you got Jurickson Profar, who had a career with the Padres, but what can he give you in 2025? And then you have Kelenic right now in right field. So, I mean, if Profar has a couple of off days, you want to throw in Verdugo. Kelenic versus Verdugo is kind of that story there until Acuna gets healthy. And that is if Verdugo breaks with the team, of course. There's obviously Brian De La Cruz, who they signed this offseason as well. Eli White plays infield and outfield. So the Braves definitely have a handful of outfield options here. So we'll see what Verdugo can bring with himself. Obviously, he expects to be playing at that major league level. He might have to work a little bit harder to get to that to start the season here, but it is something to keep an eye for going forward. But yeah, new chapter for Verdugo, new chapter for the Braves, and we'll see how that plays off into 2025 here. So very excited for that, and very excited to tell you that this is the end of the episode. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. If you are new here, please feel free to subscribe, like the video, share them with some friends who are also into baseball. It would mean a lot for me. This is entering my 3rd season of working on this podcast, over 200 episodes. I'm very excited and very thankful to be able to do these. And, it's a hobby it's fun and I enjoy it, but if I could turn it into something major, it would obviously be such an ideal situation for me. So appreciate you all. Monday, prediction episode. I'll pick my division winners. I'll pick my World Series champion. I'll pick my MVPs, my Cy Youngs, all of that coming to you on Monday. So get ready for that. Again, not sure if we will have an episode next week or not. But very excited to bring you some of my predictions for next week again on Monday. And of course, Thursday, March. What am I saying? I am tired. Thursday, March 27th, opening day, 14 games. Sorry, that one game that plays on Friday. But regardless, ladies and gentlemen, thank you everybody so much. And I will see you on Monday.